the camera here. So I'm going to start with the anatomy here. With this drawings. So you need to have with you the three views of the skeleton that we did. And let me just get situated here with the drawing. So I've got the back view, I've got the side view here also. And so I'm going to start going over this muscle by, muscle by muscle, build up the whole anatomy of the figure here. And, all right. I've never drawn this at this scale. If you've been here to the drawing room where I teach the class, you'll see these drawings life size in its room 1.110. And so I reduced them so that I can do them through this, so I can do the demos through this camera and like here in my office. So I'm just trying to find a way that I can show them to you more clearly. So you can see all this here. And I posted on the announcements, I posted this image that has all these terms here. Now we have already done most of them that are on this portion here, the ones that deal with the face. And of course, we are not going to do every single one of them, but we'll do more than half. So you want to have this accessible to you. I think you can download the image, print it, or just have it there on your computer screen or your phone screen. Because there's a lot of terminology and there's a lot of writing in regards to the names of the muscles that is hard for me to keep track of. So you want to have this so that you kind of find yourself. Also, I posted some other drawings that have descriptions of the terminology to different parts of the bones. Now, you don't have to memorize it, but also you want to pull that out so that or just have it there accessible so that you can kind of locate yourself. let me see here. And I'm gonna start off with the back view. Let me show you some other notes that I have here. I got all kinds of notes from every different angle that I've been working on notes for this. And see, this is to kind of get us started, you know. This here is what these muscles are called here. Along the spine. This is how I like to start off the whole lecture and demonstrations onto the anatomy is the erectors of the spine. That's what these are called. These are what makes a human stand upright. And so that's what we're going to start off with and look at as I come in closer here. I just want to point out some structures that it's, like I've got back view, profile view. This is like a 3/4 back view. I just want to show you this. You see this here? This is a ligament that attaches from the spinous process. And it's a point of attachment for other muscles here. And I'll try and also draw that on the notes that we're going to start working on. But this is an area of fascination for me here. And these notes are done with a gel pen. This is not colored pencil. But we're gonna use pastels and colored pencils on this one over here. And I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna put this. See if I have another clip here. And I like to start off with these muscle groups, because what defines us or separates and defines us from other animals is our ability to stand upright, and it's largely due in part to these muscles here. And also, as I start to draw this, you want to have some space on your sketchbooks where you can also write down some notes. Like I'll do other diagrams so that we can better understand what we're going to be drawing. I've got those notes, and then I've got these other notes that I've done. These are what I use when I do these demos. And I enjoy doing these as much as I like just painting. Just every time I go over the notes, I discover something new. And let me show you. So you want to have your colored pencils or your pastels as we start to do this. So before I go in here into this drawing, I want to demonstrate somewhere up here. I want to make another drawing here. I want to use this space. Like this whole space is gonna get covered up with notes and drawings here. So I want to make sure I use my space, use it well here. I don't like how it looks there. It looks kind of distorted on your end here. Fix the camera. So I've got all these different views, but one view that I think also will help us in placing these muscles and understanding how they look. Let me do this here, and we just kind of want to follow along here as I draw this. Let me show you what I'm gonna, just like a preview of what I'm going to draw on there. You see this? See this drawing here? And so this is like, in a way, like a bird's eye view of the figure. See, these are the clavicles. And then this that you see here is the rib cage. But like if you're a bird looking down at a figure without a head. So let me do this. And I'm gonna start off with I'm gonna make this circle here. And so this little circle will become the spine. So this is one of the and then from here, this is the spine, and it's of course broken up into different, discs and vertebrae. And here you want to do, this is the spinous process, the transverse process, sticking out. So that is this, seen from the top. And the way that the rib cage grows or is structured is it does this. It has the spine. It's like a groove within the back. We often think of the back as being very flat, but it has all this structure to it. And then it does See this portion here, it's this area over here. And then let's say like this is somewhere like under the scapula. I'll do the scapula on top in a little bit. And then it goes to the front. And let's say this is gonna end up being this is like the widest part of the rib cage, which is somewhere like along the 10th rib on this other view. It's further, further down. Of course, the neck is a lot more narrow. The neck will be somewhere like the ribs. This rib, that's the first rib here, is it'll be something like this here. This is the area that we worked on when we did the anatomy of the neck. And I'm gonna give it just some thickness here. So that's the first rib. And this is about the 10th, like I said. And there would be more. I'm not gonna draw all of them, but just so you get an idea as to what we're gonna be, how we're gonna be structuring this area here. Maybe I make this too big. I'm gonna take a little bit off. And I'll give this also, this is the 10th rib, and I'm gonna make it a little thick here. Kind of looks like a spider, some kind of spider. And then here, so that you kind of keep in mind what the clavicles do. This is the clavicle. It has this portion that does this, and then it goes back. And then it does this. So they look like handlebars on a motorcycle or a bicycle. So they're not, they're not flat. That's another thing you want to keep in mind, with this in the whole course here, is that nothing in the figure is flat. Everything is curving and has depth. Use a little bit of white here. And if you can run your finger along your clavicle, you'll see I've made it very angular, like 1, 2, and 3. In real life, it's of course more organic. It has a very nice and elegant curve, almost like you also want to think of it like a bow. So that's the clavicles. And maybe I make this too I made the vertebrae very big. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Like this. See, so this that is sticking out here, I'm going to color that also. A little bit of white. That's the spinous process, the transverse process on either side. And so this is where, these muscles are going to go here. So you have these, you have one on either side. And so this is what you want to make sure you get this. I want this to look nice. And then also, where the scapula is going to be. And also cover this in here. Some white chalk. See, so this is the back of the figure. This is the front of the figure. So you can see it more clearly. So this in the anatomy books, they call the back. Does anybody want to tell me, anybody that's taken biology? What do they call the back view? What do they call the front view?
Is it the sternum?
Oh no, what is the overall front view called, and what is the overall back view called?
Oh,
Figure. The sternum is in here.
yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
It is called, the anterior is the front view and the posterior is the back view. Now this is the neck here. And we're gonna put in the scapula. So somewhere like that is where you will have the scapula. It doesn't go all the way to this high point, but a little bit before that. Move this a little bit. So you can see a little bit better there. And so that's, that is the scapula. And here you would have this is the deltoid or the shoulder and the pectoralis muscles here. So the pectoralis would be something like that. In the erectors of the spine, this is the area that they're going to be occupying, right here. It's a little lopsided, but I'll fix this. Now, this, let me color this. A little bit of red. Yeah, the spinous process can be a little bit long. And so that's where these muscles are going to go on here. And there's as you can see here on this drawing, you have this form that is longer, and then these other forms that are smaller. These are the medial forms, and these are the lateral forms. And I'll place them over here in a little bit. But just some information about these. If you kind of close up on this area here, these are what, if you like to eat steak, this is the filet mignon here, or the tomahawk steak. I'm sure, like if you look at grilling videos, like I like to watch grilling videos on YouTube. Sometimes they cook a tomahawk steak, and it's it's part of the rib here with that steak on it, with this muscle on it. And of course, on cattle, on four-legged animals, they're very tender because they don't use them. We use them to stand upright, but cattle and I mean, they must use it, but not as much as we do because they walk on all fours. So that's why they're very tender on four-legged animals. Also, like, like there's different cuts, like the tenderloin, the filet mignon, there's the ribeye. The ribeye has like another, when you buy it, has like this other portion on top, which is part of another muscle, which might be like this, which is cut from a different portion of the spine. So just keep that in mind if you want to kind of relate it to other anatomy that we're more associated with indirectly. So those are the first muscles that I want to put in there. And so you want to make sure that you've got a nice drawing here of the spine, like what I've done here. I think I gotta pick up the drawing a little bit. Now just take a final look at this here. That's where the erectors of the spine are going to go. And this red portion that I made is primarily made of a muscle that is, I believe it should be on there on your notes, that is called the multifidus. Should be on this hand. Let me see if I can find it there. And let me demonstrate here on this note. We're going to simplify it into this basic shape, like two cords, going down the spine. But look, this is what happens with that muscle. See, it connects from the transverse process up to the spinous process. So let's say this is the first lumbar vertebrae here. So it goes from the transverse process of the first to the spinous process of the second. And it fills up that groove in there, like what I've shown you here. So that's where we're going to go in there first. Now this view on this drawing is like a 3/4 view. Now I'll draw it just like a more simplified vertical view. I have to move this back. Push it further back here. And so first, I'm going to, I'll draw it just with black and white, kind of like what I did here. So that you guys can, I'll do it with white and charcoal, so you see the basic, basic structure. And it goes all the way from lower this here, and that's the angle that I need right there. Let's bring this up. So this muscle, it starts where it covers like the sacrum. This is the sacrum, the back part of the pelvis. And it goes all the way up to, not quite to the very to the cranium, but up to like the third vertebrae of the third cervical vertebrae. So like 1, 2, and 3. And this is the form that you're going to give it. And I like to do this. It has an overall cylindrical quality to it, or structure to it. And then it kind of tapers off like a tail. So that's one portion on one side here. And then on the other side of the spinous process, there's another one. And I'm going to draw some cross contour lines on it. And see, this is the of course here it looks very, just very flat, just going up and down. But you want to keep in mind this other one I have here, how it kind of goes in at the bottom of the rib cage. And I'll draw this muscle on, from different views. And so you want to do this here. So this kind of to indicate that this is how round it is. How cylindrical it is. I like cross contour lines. So you want to indicate that form. Comes to a point. And I'm going to give it a with a white.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you counting all these like scales or like it's just random?
Right now it's just random, yeah. Just random.
Okay.
And that makes it, gives it a little bit of a highlight. And I'm gonna just give it some quick shading here to keep emphasizing. So these are the erectors of the spine. The major muscle that gives it form, like I said, it's called the multifidus. And that's just to keep it simple. I mean, it's there's more muscles that make up this mass. There's, I mean, there's these are the transverse process. So there's muscles that go from one transverse process to the other. But we're just going to group them into this here. And I kind of estimated there that that kind of lines up with like the third vertebrae right there. Or these are the 7. Make sure that you number these like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because that is the end of the neck. And then I tried to kind of bring it all the way down to the sacrum. And see, it stays there in that groove. So it looks kind of metallic right now. And so these are, structural drawings. So we understand the form that it has. Now, what do I want to do? These are just some of the technical kind of difficulties here. Let me take off my jacket. So that's, that's the form that you want to do on there. And before let me move this in closer here. You can see a little bit better there. Like I was saying, you wanna number these. I'm gonna number them. I'm gonna number them with a pen. So this is 1, 2, 5, 6. Now 7, it's important because that's the end of the cervical vertebrae here. And also because the spinous process here, I'm gonna color it yellow. You don't want to lose that one. Now I'll mention some other landmarks on the. I'm gonna put yellow here. Why doesn't show up? I put a little bit of yellow there, and I'm gonna maybe darken it a little bit here around it.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
The first one, the funny looking vertebrae at the top, that's included, right?
Yeah, that's one. Then that's the atlas. That's flatters because it holds the whole cranium. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
This is what's called a bony landmark, which means that the skin attaches very closely to this. And if you reach to the back of your neck, you can feel that. You can feel it right there underneath the skin, right where your neck ends and your back begins. So you don't want to lose that.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
That's the spinous process of the 7 cervical vertebrae. And it's always, for me, it's always, I spend time making these drawings, and then I have to cover them with muscle. So it's always, and I'm never happy with I could have kept it really simple, but it's like I feel unsatisfied. Like it has to look nice to me. It has to look good. So before I do that, I want to take a photo of this. When I was mentioning the bird that I was painting. Well, you can't, doesn't show up too good there. I'll email it to myself and show you. So this is the form we're gonna put in there on either side of the spine here, on either side of the spinous process. And so this is the like I said, the medial. Anytime you have a muscle that is close to the center, it'll be medial. Anything that's closer or a little bit outside of that, it'll be lateral. This is the medial form. And then here, see it has this other form, which is the lateral form of the erectors of the spine. And I don't know if you could make out that it has, I wrote on there that it says common mass, because it's several muscle groups that make that form. And it's called the Ileocostalis. And let me draw it also here in just with black and white. And so before I start going on here, I'm going to number these as well before I start to. So this is, you got 7, then right before 7, we start with the thoracic vertebrae, because they have, they have a rib attached to it. So this, under 7, you start again with 1, and 2, so you should have 12. If you don't have 12, you're in deep trouble. I'm not gonna count, I'm not gonna count look at your drawings and count every single vertebrae, but it's this will all make more sense if you've got the right number on there. And I'm sure you remember when you were drawing these, how hard it was to fit them all in there. Because I wanted to number them, because this other form starts off like a little bit below the 7, like between the 7 and the 8th, and it's gonna go down all the way to the second lumbar vertebrae, and it has this shape. It's like a teardrop shape, and of course there's one on either side. I'm gonna just kind of try and estimate here. And it partially covers this one, it overlaps it. So I'll do it here. A little bit pointier at the top. So it does that, something like that. Covers about half of the one underneath. This is the lateral form of the erectors of the spine. And also these, I'm going to give it that cross contour. And these are just kind of randomly drawn on there. They're not numbered. And I will give it a highlight. And hopefully, like after spring break, we can slowly come back here and we'll have a model, and I'll show you this forms on the model. And I'll prove to you that I'm not just making this up. Actually, you see all these forms on the living model. So it kind of does this, and then so all of this is in preparation to draw it over here. So it has this, and you can reach there into your spine, and you can feel this kind of going there with your fingers, or like if you have a partner, you can give a massage, and you can feel this structures, around the spinous process. Of course, here the spinous process is going to be very hard, but you will feel those cylindrical forms underneath. And see, like on this drawing, I drew it on there, and see it has. I tried to show the connections that it has to the rib. Now this is the big form that it makes, right? And so just like in the spine, you have the cervical portion, then the thoracic, and then the lumbar, which is the lower five vertebrae. This muscle, and we're not gonna draw those sections, but just like general information. It has a lumbar portion, a thoracic portion, and also a very thin cervical portion. So for the sake of the class, like, might seem tedious to do all this, but it can get even more in depth. Sometimes I have to just remind myself, like, I just gotta stop. I feel like it's too much. It's too much information sometimes. And as I've been teaching the class, like I've discovered, like I was taught about this in art school, and the erectors of the spine, the multifidus, the Ileocostalis, And just to jump ahead a little bit, I'll show you the notes here. See here? On this view, and we'll do this when we do the side view. See this green one, that is the multifidus. And then it gets covered up by the Ileocostalis, you see? So that's how it'll look on the side view. Just so you know what's coming here. Also, as we keep adding on to this, you want to make sure like that you have the proper head measurements, like the one head here, which is around the fourth cervical vertebrae. Then the second head measurement falls a little bit on top of the along the seventh thoracic vertebrae here, which kind of lines up with the bottom of the scapula. So you just want to make sure that you've got those measurements on there. So you can see how the proportions are going to start to relate and help you place the anatomy. And before I keep going on here, I want to number these as well. So that's 12, and then it is you can count up or down. I'm gonna go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also I find it fascinating the structure of this, how it tapers. Oh, these are so much more massive than these here. So yeah, you make sure you number them so that you don't lose your space. And I think we have just about enough time to fill this in here. And I try and do everything so that it is aesthetically, pleasing. This is not so much pleasing to me, but it helps me understand the structure. It looks very mechanical. So when I go in here, I'll try and make it look a little bit more natural, like the notes that I showed you. And so that it looks nice to me, I'm going to use my red chalk and my white. This over here. And I'm just going to angle the camera down here so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the red chalk because I want to make this look like a beautiful drawing. And I'm gonna lay down the strokes. It's hard for me to determine what looks, what works for you guys, if you can see this or not. So these are the spinous process of the sacrum. The sacrum here is like, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 5 vertebrae that are fused together. That's why you have these indentations here. It's the same as what you have up here, but it's they're all fused together. And see, I'm doing this. It goes from the edge of the sacrum to those spinous process. And on this side as well here. And I'll be adding highlights, making it look more like the actual muscle fibers. This is the tail portion, where it kind of becomes pointy. And like I said, like the as it keeps coming up here, and I'm trying to curve it so it looks cylindrical. These are the transverse process. These here are the spinous process. So the way that this grows, it's like the transverse process of 5 to the spinous process, from 4 to the spinous process of 3. And there's many bundles of this. Let me use the white. And I might go back with a little bit more color, with the pastels. And so it's gonna cover up the spinous process. So we call this area here. It's gonna get covered up. Pick this up a little bit here. Now we're coming up to 7:10, but we're not gonna finish all this today. But you guys have to, we're gonna do this in class, right? And on your own time, like, you've got to shade the drawings that you showed me today, the bar drawings. And you, before you start shading, make sure that you do the notes. You have to, those notes that I made are to demonstrate the process in which they're meant to be shaded. We have the turning, the reflected light, all those things that point out on those notes. Now, see, I brought it up just to the fourth cervical vertebrae right there. And this was a lot softer than this, the pastel form. And see, I made this, I made sure to write the numbers in pen because this is pastel and I can kind of remove it with my finger and I'll be able to find the numbers later on, the numbers of the vertebrae. I'll do both sides, of course, but there's only so much we'll be able to do today. And I've asked, I think I asked you guys once before, but I only had one response. So you guys, you want to make sure that you're listening. Make sure that you're listening, and I want to make plans to eventually come back to class and have you guys draw the model, like I mentioned, after coming back in a limited number, whoever feels comfortable. I want you guys to tell me if you want to come back. Who definitely is not ready.
Like, do we tell you right now in class or do we email you?
What you can do is you can email me. Write down I'm in intermediate drawing, the course number, and just say, you know, I think I'm ready, you know, or I really don't want to yet, or ever until I'm vaccinated, or
Okay.
yeah. Make sure that you guys email me. I'll keep asking next class as well.
And if we go, I know at my studio classes, at least in Brownsville, some of us are assigned certain days to go. Would we go both days, depending on the,
No,
or,
like one day a group of you will come, and another day another group of you.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah. Alrighty. I know at least for me, like as a work study, they had us sign up for the vaccine, and we're just like waiting to get approved. And I think they're gonna open it to other students, like that are not work studies. So,
Yeah, like I was able to get vaccinated, son.
mhm.
So yeah, I will of course encourage you guys to find a way to get vaccinated. So make sure you email me, let me know what you think. Like I mentioned on the email at the start of the semester, I understand your situation, whatever it might be. You know, if you want to stay just online, we can continue that for some of you. See the stroke that I'm doing, kind of curving it, and at the same time going from the transverse to the spinous process here. And hopefully not, I don't know if you can see this, you don't want to lose that yellow one, which is the 7. And I'm doing it in a way that I can still kind of see through it, so I can, because I'm still going to use all those transverse process for other muscles in the coming class. And because this part of the, let me show you on this view. See, the sacrum is more upward facing. I'm gonna put a little bit more light there at on that portion. So it's 7:21, so we can end it here for today. Make sure that you start shading your drawings. I'm gonna grade the torso, the Belvedere torso, the one without the seated one, not the reclining one. I want to check them on Wednesday. I want to see that
You're gonna check the sitting one and not the other, or both?
Just the seated one. I think if I ask for both, it'll be too much. Like to get quality, quality. So yeah, just
Okay.
the seated one. It doesn't have to be finished, but I want to see some shading.
Okay, doke.
All right, guys. So that is class for today. Let me know if you guys need any assistance in regards to your access to the internet. I'm gonna try and post these videos for the people that were not able to join us. But that's it for today. All right. If you don't have any questions, you can leave the class, and I'll stay here if you guys have any questions.
Do you want
Sir,
us to post the shading on the blogger, or are we gonna show you in class or progress?
I will check for the progress on class, but yeah, post them on your blog, and then I can just go to it by clicking on the link that you provided.
Thank you.
Okay.
sir, I have a question.
Okay.
We have to, is she talking about shading for the homework that we did, the sketches? Or what we did in class?
For the bar drawings, the ones that you blocked in.
The torsos?
Yeah, the torsos, but just one of them, the seated one.
Oh, so we shade in the seated one and then
Yeah.
that's it? Not the one laying down, the seated one, right?
Just I want to see progress on that one. It doesn't have to be done by Wednesday. They will both be due a week from today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but on Wednesday, you want to see progress on the seated one. So we upload, okay.
Yeah.
And I upload that one on my blog?
To your blog, yes.
Okay. All right, I think that's all my questions. I had fun today, sir. See you later.
Okay. Take care. Anybody else? Anybody else has a question? Stephanie? No? Okay.
No, bye, Professor. Thank you.
Bye. Jonathan?
Have a nice day, sir. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Guys.